Hey there everybody in BookTube, my name is Mandy. Today I'm here to tell you about my crazy first half of the month reading. I'm a little embarrassed about this. I don't know why. I shouldn't be ashamed of how much I read, but I am a little bit. I read 14 books, listened to most of them. Only 5 of them were new reads though. So that's what I'm kind of counting. The other ones were Meg Cabot books that covered me in a nice fluffy soft pillow. As I mentioned on my September wrap-up video, there have been some issues with our neighbor and I have been super stressed and falling back onto my favorites. And as such, my favorite author as a teen was Meg Cabot, and I read a lot of Meg Cabot books. First up in the month, I read Linger by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the second book in the Wolves of Mercy Falls series. It's basically a town called Mercy Falls, who would have guessed? And in the winter, they have a wolf population, and most of the wolves just kind of disappear during the summer. Turns out they're werewolves. Woo! Without giving away too much of the plot, I did enjoy this book more than the first one. I think it's because you are introduced to 2 new characters who I like a lot better than the main characters in the first one. So you've got 4 perspectives in this one. I gave it a probably like 3.75 star review. I mean, it's not as good as The Raven Cycle, but it's still not bad. After that, I read This Shattered World by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. This is a sci-fi book. I read the first book in this series. It's the second book in the Starbound trilogy, and I read the first one last month. I enjoyed it. I gave that one a 4 star, and I give this one a 4 star as well. I feel like it was a solid sequel. In the first book, you followed 2 people named Tarver and Lilac, and in this book, it's obviously the same world since it's the same series, but 2 new characters on a new planet, and you slowly start to see how it comes together. There's another book that I think, well, I hope, will just kind of wrap everything all together. If you like sci-fi, I think you'll like this. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with what's good or not in sci-fi. We're not into the super Meg Cabot section, but we're starting a small Meg Cabot section with Princess in Training by Meg Cabot. This is number 6 in the Princess Diaries series. It starts out in Mia's sophomore year of high school while Michael, her boyfriend, is starting college. She's running for student council president against her will, and yeah. That's all I'll say. I mean, when it comes down to it, most of the Princess Diaries books could be standalones. You don't really need... It's not like the stories build on each other with each subsequent book, except for 2 of them. One of them ends in a cliffhanger. Then next up, I read Avalon High by Meg Cabot. This one is a King Arthur retelling. You've got a girl named Ellie who moves to a new town, and at her school, which is Avalon High, it seems like there could potentially be an Arthur reincarnation. You've got the football player Will, whose first name is Arthur, and then his best friends are Lance and Jennifer. It's really good. I gave it a 4 star review, even with my older eyes. If you like retellings and want a kind of spunky Arthur retelling, this is the one for you. After that, I read Forever by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't think when I mentioned Linger that I mentioned that this was a reread for me, this series. Forever was also a reread for me, but I didn't remember much about it. I won't say much about it because I don't want to spoil the series for anyone that is still wanting to read it. But I felt like it was a solid ending, even though technically there is a 4th book. I'll be reading that sometime in the near future. I don't know when. And then I read A Kiss in the Dark by Gina Chiocca, I think. I don't know. It's a weird Ciocca, whatever you pronounce that as. This is about a girl who's entering her senior year of high school, and there's something mysterious that has happened in the past between her and some of her former friends. She starts out the year at the pep rally, the lights go out, everything is dark, and then someone finds her, realizes who she is, and kisses her in the dark. Well, she has 3 choices for who it could potentially be, and she spends the rest of the book trying to figure out who it is, but also we get flashbacks to her junior year, the previous year, and try to figure out what went wrong. This was a solid contemporary book. I mean, it wasn't amazing, and for contemporaries, a solid contemporary usually gets 3 to 3.5 stars for me, and that's where this one lands. It was good, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. It was just the middle of the road. Yeah. And then I've read Hunted by Megan Spooner. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. So like typical Beauty and the Beast retellings, you have a girl whose father is a merchant and he loses everything. They end up going to his hunting cabin to live. He goes off for weeks at a time to hunt, and at one point their dog comes back, and their hunting dog who would never leave him. So Yeva, aka Beauty, goes out after him and runs into the Beast, who takes her captive and tells her that he needs a hunter to break his curse, and since she has learned hunting from her father, he has chosen her for that. Yeah, I feel like this one was a pretty a solid Beauty and the Beast retelling. Probably 3.5 star review for me. Just the Beauty and the Beast retelling. There wasn't anything particularly special about it, but there wasn't anything particularly terrible. The next book that I read was Secrets of Attraction by Robin Constantine. You've got a girl named Madison who has a hard time getting close to boys, and then a boy named Jesse who's recently had his heart broken. They come together. Can they fix their hearts? I don't know. Yeah, once again, middle of the road. 3 stars. It wasn't particularly amazing, but it didn't make me want to throw it at the wall either, so. It was slow to start, I remember that much. It took a lot of time and build up for them to actually come together and meet. And at that point I was just kind of like, when is this gonna pick up? And eventually the story did pick up, but it was only about halfway through that it did. So I guess that is my criticism of this book, even though, I mean, it wasn't bad. Maybe the fact that the books were kind of middle of the road also played into the fact that I read so many Meg Cabot books this month. Now we are into the Mega Meg Cabot section. So then I decided to read the last 4 Princess Diaries books. Technically the last 5. I don't have a physical copy of the last one. So we've got Party Princess, Princess on the Brink, Princess Mia, and Forever Princess. These 4 close out the original Princess Diaries series and her original story arc. Party Princess, this one is probably my least favorite book. She thinks all of a sudden after dating her boyfriend for 1.5 years that he wants a party girl. And she tries to be a party girl. I give this one 2 stars. Even younger me only gave it 3 stars. Then we have Princess on the Brink, where Mia's boyfriend Michael has some news for her that she doesn't like, and she tries to change his mind. Princess Mia, where she really comes in on her own. Forever Princess, which is the last book, and it centers around the week before her high school graduation. And yeah, I felt like the series ended so well. I give this one 4.5 to 5 stars. Not necessarily because I think it's 5 stars now, but because I just feel like it's a solid ending to the series, if that makes sense. And after those 4, I did read Royal Wedding by Meg Cabot as well, which is counted as the 11th Princess Diaries book. That one came out only a couple of years ago, and it takes place when Mia is 26, and I guess that's 8 years after the end of the series, and she's getting engaged and goes through her whole wedding and all that stuff. And I gave that one probably about 4 stars. I thought that it was really fun to see a glimpse into her life far into the future. That one also sets up for a middle grade series that Meg Cabot came out with about her little sister that she didn't know she had. Sorry, spoiler alert. But the series exists. I think it can be pretty easy to figure that out. On a side note, they changed the Princess Diaries covers, or the cover style, on the 9th book. I mean, I like the new covers, but now I have 2 books that don't look like the rest. It's kind of annoying. You've made it with me this far, and we are here for the last book, which is not a reread. And in honor of October, I decided to try something a little spookier, and it did not pay off. I probably shouldn't have picked this up from the library, but I couldn't help myself. And that is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kiersten White, aka the YA retelling of Frankenstein that nobody asked for. Hopefully that is not offensive to anyone who loved this book. The other books that I've read by Kiersten White have been fun and upbeat, and so I thought that maybe this one would be the same when I saw that she had written it. It was not. It's basically about a girl named Elizabeth Lavenza who was basically adopted by the Frankensteins when she was a young child. They didn't officially adopt her, they basically just took her in and she's living with them. And she was brought into the house to calm down Victor, their son, who was a little eccentric and antisocial, and she was supposed to be a good influence on him. At the beginning of the book, she's looking for him. He went off to school and she hasn't heard from him in about 1.5 years. And so she goes off searching for him and maybe finds some horrors along the way. It was really dark. I don't know. I think I give this like 1.5 stars, but it's probably just because horror is not my thing. This is definitely in the horror category. So if you do like horror, I would feel free to check this one out. It just wasn't really my thing. It started out not being so horror-like. It was about halfway through that the horror really hit, and my poor brain does not like it. Okay, so even though I read 14 books this month, I mean, a lot of them mold in together to one, like the whole Princess Diaries series. I don't know. Those are really quick reads. And especially since I didn't have to pay attention to them because they were all rereads, they were just going on in the background at faster speed with audiobooks. So it only took me like a day each to read them. But the other books that I read, the 5 books that were not rereads, I feel like those are the ones that really count. And that the Princess Diaries all count as maybe like 2 books. So we'll call it 7 books for the month. What have you guys read so far? I hope that you have had great reading months as well. I hope that your lives are a little less stress-filled than mine. If anyone wants to come and punch my downstairs neighbor, I fully welcome it. If you liked what you saw today, feel free to click subscribe. You can also follow me on my social media, which I will link down below. I hope you're having a great bookish day, and I will see you next time. Bye!